You're kidding.
I'm serious. Honey, your coffee's undrinkable.
No, relax. Why don't you try instant Folgers? Tastes good as fresh perked.
You ever notice how the things we used to side-eye are now the stuff we can't live without?
As a convenient place for the telephone and for making out menus and market orders, we also included a planning center.
The outfits we mocked, the gadgets we ditched, the habits we left behind, they're all back. And not just back, they're cool again. Once, you'd hide your fanny pack in a drawer or scoff at bell-bottoms on reruns. Now, they're trending harder than ever. It's funny how time doesn't just heal, it rebrands. What was weird or embarrassing yesterday is now a badge of retro style, sustainable living, or quiet rebellion. So let's rewind the reel and walk through 25 things that once earned a laugh or a groan, but today they're part of our everyday life again. If any of these sound familiar, that's no coincidence. You've been here before, and it's good to be back. Bell-bottom jeans. Back in the 70s, bell-bottoms weren't just pants, they were personality. The flared legs turned sidewalks into runways, letting you swish through the world like you owned it. But by the mid-80s, the party was over. Skinny and straight-leg jeans took the stage, and bell-bottoms got stuffed in thrift store bins and Halloween boxes. Fast forward to the 2010s, and guess what came swinging back? Not as a joke, but as a style revival. Flared denim, high-waisted and vintage-washed, started strutting down city streets again. They weren't ironic, they were iconic. Why the comeback? Simple. Bell-bottoms flatter, they elongate the legs, cinch the waist, and bring a sense of flow that today's fashion was missing. But more than that, they evoke something we miss, a time when self-expression was stitched into every seam. Wearing them now isn't about looking retro, it's about reclaiming that groove. Fanny packs. Remember when wearing a fanny pack got you side-eyes in public? Once the unofficial symbol of clueless tourists and theme park dads, these waist-hugging satchels were a functional faux pas. Practical, yes, but fashionable? Not a chance. And yet here we are, they're back. Not only back, but elevated, renamed as belt bags or crossbody packs. They've been spotted on runways, wrapped around influencers, and embraced by people who swore they'd never. Why now? In an era of movement and multitasking, convenience is king. We need quick access to phones, keys, and snacks without the weight of a shoulder bag. The fanny pack solved a problem before we knew we had one, and now we're giving it its due. And let's be honest, there's something empowering about going hands-free and still having everything right where you need it. Fanny packs walked so wearable tech could run. Now they're walking again, this time in style. Macrame. There was a time when every boho corner of the 1970s had something swinging, knotted, or hanging. Macrame was the texture of the era, looped into plant holders, wall hangings, or draped over lampshades. But as chrome, glass, and stark minimalism took over the 80s and 90s, macrame got labeled as dusty and outdated, that is, until the world craved warmth again. Suddenly, homes didn't need to be sharp, they needed to be soft. And in came the knots. Macrame's comeback isn't ironic, it's intentional. The natural fibers, this handmade feel, the visual rhythm, it's everything that digital living isn't. You see it at weddings, in nurseries, and across boutique shop walls. It's no longer just a craft, it's a comfort. In a time where most things are mass-produced and swipeable, macrame whispers that slower is better. That handmade means heart-made. And that some knots were worth untying, just so we could tie them again. Wallpaper. If you ever peeled wallpaper off a wall, you probably swore you'd never put it up again. The glue, the steamers, the haunted, floral patterns of decades past. It was a mess. But wallpaper didn't die, it evolved. Today's wallpaper is bold, intentional, and, most importantly, removable. With peel and stick options and designs that feel like curated art, wallpaper has gone from punishment to centerpiece. Bathrooms glow with moody florals. Hallways stretch with geometric illusions. Accent walls whisper secrets in palm leaves and velvet textures. People don't just live in their homes now, they personalize them. Paint gives you color. Wallpaper gives you character. And while we might joke about Grandma's kitchen wall, she was onto something. She knew a room needed texture. And now we're just catching up, with better tools and fewer regrets. Shag rugs. There's something magical about sinking your toes into a rug that feels like it might just swallow your whole foot. Shag rugs were the ultimate symbol of 70s decadence. Long fibers, deep texture, and that unmistakable softness. But then came the backlash. Too messy, too hard to clean, too dated. And so they disappeared into basements and garage sales. Until comfort made a comeback. Today's shag rugs are cleaner, classier, and consciously designed. You'll find them in muted tones, eco-friendly fabrics, and carefully styled corners of homes that crave softness. Because in a hard-edged world, sometimes softness is the biggest flex. Modern shag isn't about chaos, it's about calm. It's the joy of feeling something underfoot that reminds you to pause, to breathe, to stay a while. And yes, you might still lose a Cheerio or two, but isn't that a small price to pay for a little luxury? Vinyl records! They crackled, they skipped, they took up too much shelf space. And yet, vinyl never really left us. Even as cassettes and CDs marched in promising portability and perfection, vinyl stayed tucked in crates, waiting for its encore. And it got one. Today, vinyl records are booming, not as relics, but as revered art forms. People are buying new albums on wax. Teens are spinning Beatles records. Turntables are centerpieces again. Why the revival? Because music, when it's tangible, hits different. You hold the cover, slide out the sleeve, place the needle. There's ceremony in it, an intimacy we lost with playlists and streams. Vinyl sounds warmer, say the purists, but more than that, it feels more human. Flaws and all, it forces you to listen to the whole album, not just the hits. And in that, there's something beautiful. It turns out the future of music had a groove all along, and it was hiding in the past. Film cameras. Once digital cameras took over, film cameras were tossed aside like relics of a slower age. No preview screen, no instant gratification, just a roll of 24 exposures and a week-long wait at the photo lab. Now, film is cool again. From vintage SLRs to disposable cameras, people are reaching back for that analog charm. It's not about perfection, it's about patience. The grain, the light leaks, the unpredictability, it all feels more real. In a world of filters and endless takes, film gives you one shot. It demands intention. And when that photo finally comes back, it means something. There's a new generation discovering the thrill of winding the film, hearing the click, and hoping you got the shot. And for those who lived through it the first time, it's like meeting an old friend with new stories. The magic of film was never in the megapixels. It was in the moment. Typewriters. Before the endless blinking of cursors and the temptations of tab switching, there was the typewriter. Heavy, loud, demanding, but oh, so satisfying. When computers took over, typewriters were shelved, literally relegated to attics and antique stores, too slow, too analog, too extra, until they weren't. Writers, artists, and nostalgia seekers began digging them out. Not for efficiency, but for focus. A typewriter doesn't ping you with notifications. It doesn't auto-correct your voice. It asks for commitment. Every word feels deliberate. Every mistake is real. And that click-clack rhythm? It's therapy. Even as decor typewriters tell a story, they say, something important happened here. And maybe that's the appeal, reconnecting with a time when words mattered more than word counts. In a world of distractions, the typewriter is a rebellion dressed as a machine. Home gardening, vegetable gardens. There was a time when growing your own vegetables seemed quaint. Something your grandparents did during wartime, or what rural folk still kept up with. The rest of us? We had supermarkets, but over time the convenience of store-bought began to feel hollow. Overpriced produce, bland tomatoes, and the unsettling realization of how far our food traveled. So we dug back in, literally. Now, raised beds dot suburban yards, windowsills are lined with herbs, and backyard gardens are booming again. Why? Because there's joy in watching something grow, power in picking your own salad, peace in watering the soil each morning. Gardening reconnects us with seasons, with patience, with nourishment beyond calories. It's not just about food, it's about knowing where it came from, what went into it, and how good it tastes when you made it happen. Turns out, old-fashioned was just ahead of its time. Knitting and crochet. Remember when knitting was something only grandmas did? Balls of yarn, clacking needles, and afghans that took months to finish. It felt slow, dated, a hobby from a quieter era. And then, like a well-made sweater, it came back into style. Knitting and crochet found a new generation of makers. Instagram feeds filled with handmade scarves. YouTube tutorials taught intricate stitches. Craft nights replaced club nights. Why? Because making something with your hands feels like a protest against fast fashion, against throwaway culture, against being too busy to breathe. Each loop is a meditation. Each finished piece is proof you took time. And with every stitch, you join a quiet lineage of creators who understood that warmth isn't just worn, it's made. In a world rushing forward, knitting invites us to slow down and wrap ourselves in something real. Wearing glasses, non-prescription. Once upon a time, if you wore glasses without needing them, people gave you the look. It meant you were trying too hard, pretentious, a poser. Glasses were for bad vision, not good fashion. But now, they're everywhere, on models, on musicians, on people with perfect eyesight who just like the way they look in tortoiseshell frames. Non-prescription glasses are no longer weird, they're wearable identity. What changed? Maybe we grew tired of sameness. Maybe we needed one accessory that says, "Here's who I am," without saying a word. Glasses are intellectual, quirky, vintage, cool. They can soften a look or sharpen it. They're the punctuation at the end of your outfit. And deep down, maybe we always wanted to be that kid who looked like they read banned books at lunch. Turns out, we all kind of do now. High-waisted pants. There was a time, not too long ago, when high-waisted pants were considered fashion exile. We called them mom jeans, laughed at them in sitcoms, and stuffed them behind racks of low-rise denim in every store. But style, like history, repeats itself, and suddenly those sky-high waistbands are back with a vengeance. Why? Because they work. They cinch the waist, they elongate the legs, and most importantly, they feel good. They offer structure without suffocation and nostalgia without kitsch. What once looked frumpy now feels fierce. And as fashion finally embraces comfort and confidence together, high-waisted pants have gone from joke to joy. We didn't just pull them back out of the closet, we brought them back on purpose. Corduroy fabric. Corduroy, the fabric of your childhood photos, school picture day outfits, and retro recliners. For years, it was the punchline of texture jokes. Too bulky, too librarian, too grandpa. But then the winds shifted. Corduroy made its return not as costume, but as character. Pants, jackets, even furniture. Suddenly that ribbed texture felt warm again, familiar, intentional. It's not just nostalgia, it's the depth. The soft ridges catch the light, add dimension, and say, this isn't fast fashion. This has feel. Corduroy doesn't shout, it suggests. It winks. It reminds us that texture matters, and that sometimes the stuff we once rolled our eyes at is exactly what makes a room or an outfit feel complete. Landline phones. Remember, the sound a landline made when it rang? That sudden burst of sound, no custom ringtone, no vibrations, just a clear signal that someone wanted to talk to you. There was weight in that call. A pause in the house, a hush in the room. Then we all went mobile. Landlines were left behind, tethered, outdated, and unnecessary, until they weren't. In a world of pings, buzzes, and endless group chats, the humble landline has found its niche again. It's stable, reliable, uncomplicated. It doesn't die in the middle of a storm or steal your attention every 5 seconds. For some, it's a backup. For others, it's a sanctuary. Either way, it's not about going backward. It's about carving out peace in a connected world that never stops talking. Classic radio shows. Before television ruled the living room, families gathered around something smaller but no less powerful, the radio. And if you remember those nights, you know the magic wasn't in what you saw, it was in what you imagined. Programs like The Shadow, Fibber McGee and Molly, or Dragnet filled the room with drama, laughter, and suspense. The creak of a door, the gallop of a horse, the mysterious narrator. Radio wasn't background noise, it was a front-row seat to your own theatre of the mind. And for years it faded away, swallowed by screens and flashy visuals. But lately, it's back. Not in the exact same form, but in spirit, through podcasts, storytelling apps, and modern audio dramas. People are rediscovering the joy of listening, of turning down the lights and letting their mind paint the pictures. Turns out, the golden age of radio didn't end, it just changed stations, and if you lean in close, you can still hear it calling. Board games. There was a time when board games lived in dusty closets, wedged between old puzzles and forgotten Christmas gifts. Once the go-to for family nights, they fell out of favor as video games and digital distractions took over. But board games, they waited. And now they're back with a vengeance. And a vengeance that involves dice, strategy, and a whole lot of laughter. From cooperative missions to competitive classics, today's board games are smarter, deeper, and more beautiful than ever. They're not just about killing time, they're about creating time together. Why the resurgence? Because we're craving connection. Real connection, sitting around a table, reading facial expressions, sharing snacks and stories between turns. No screens, no swipes, just people. Board games remind us that play isn't just for kids, and that the best memories often come with a timer and a little friendly rivalry. Natural and unprocessed foods. There was a time when processed foods were the future. TV dinners in shiny trays, shelf-stable snacks with space-age labels. The faster, the flashier, the better. Now, we're flipping the script. Natural, whole foods, once dismissed as health nut fare, are suddenly front and center. Farmers' markets are thriving. Ingredient lists are getting shorter. And organic isn't just a label, it's a lifestyle. Why the change?
Maybe it's the growing awareness of what we're putting into our bodies. Or maybe we've realized that food isn't just fuel, it's information. It tells our bodies how to feel, how to fight, how to thrive. Eating an apple, you picked yourself.
Baking bread with 4 ingredients, making soup from scratch. It's not just healthier, it's grounding. In a world full of artificial everything, real food feels like a small, delicious act of rebellion. Reusable shopping bags. Not long ago, bringing your own bag to the grocery store got you funny looks. It was bulky, it was unusual, it was too much effort. Now, it's the norm, and for good reason. Reusable bags went from hippie habit to environmental must-have. We realized that single-use plastic wasn't convenient, it was costly. To our oceans, our wildlife, and our future. But there's more to it. Carrying a reusable bag says something. It says you care. That little canvas tote, it's a small daily decision that adds up. Quiet, consistent, and kind. They come in colors, patterns, even with zippered compartments. Some fold into pockets. Others spark conversation. But they all serve the same purpose, to do better by doing just a little. Turns out sustainability fits right over your shoulder. Mending and repairing clothes. Once upon a time, a rip in your jeans meant a needle.
And thread, a missing button, a quick fix before church.
But as clothes got cheaper and closets got fuller, we stopped repairing and started replacing. Until now. Mending is back, not just out of thriftiness, but out of thoughtfulness. People are patching knees, darning socks, and adding flair to tears instead of tossing them out. Visible mending is even a trend, proof that wear and repair can be beautiful. Why the return? Because fast fashion lost its charm, and because fixing something with your own hands feels right. It says, this still has value. It says, I made this last. And maybe, just maybe, it says something about us too. Bar soap as opposed to liquid soap. For a while, liquid soap had all the attention. Sleek pumps, fancy bottles, lavender-scented everything. Bar soap? That was for Grandma's bathroom. But what goes around, comes around. Bar soap is back, and not just as a nostalgic nod. It's eco-friendly, often handmade, and free from the plastic parade that liquid soaps bring. One bar can last weeks. It's simple, it's solid. It works. Walk into a boutique shop now and you'll find shelves of artisanal bars, oatmeal and honey, charcoal and mint, lavender and shea. These aren't your average hotel slivers. These are tiny sculptures of self-care. And there's something grounding about a bar of soap. It doesn't buzz, beep, or auto-dispense. It just sits there, waiting for you to take a moment and wash the day away. Bar soap. There was a time when bar soap was in every bathroom. Ivory, Dove, Dial. Sitting in a little dish, slightly melted at the bottom with a scent you could smell before you even entered the room. Then came the pump bottles. Liquid soap took over with its cleaner image, more hygienic, more convenient. Bar soap became old-fashioned, a relic of guest bathrooms and Grandma's sink. But now, the bar is back. Handcrafted, wrapped in craft paper, infused with lavender, charcoal, oatmeal and nostalgia. People are rediscovering the charm of something simple, something solid. Why, it's sustainable, less plastic, less waste. And something about rubbing that lather between your palms makes you feel rooted, like you're taking your time, not
rushing through another rinse. In a world of antibacterial everything, the humble bar of soap reminds us that clean never needed to be complicated.
Incense and essential oils. Not long ago, incense was the punchline of a stereotype. The thing you burned in college dorms or quirky gift shops. Too out there, too earthy. But today, the scent of sandalwood or lavender isn't weird, it's wellness. From diffusers in spas to patchouli sticks in yoga studios, scent has made a full comeback. And in homes across the country, people are lighting incense again, not for ritual, but for relief. A deep breath, a sense of calm, a way to say, this is my space, and I choose peace. Essential oils swirl through ultrasonic diffusers while soft playlists hum in the background. This isn't about being trendy, it's about being intentional, about reclaiming our senses in a world that's too loud, too fast, too overwhelming. Sometimes the answer is as simple as scent. Houseplants. There was a time when houseplants were just background decor, something your aunt kept in the corner. A ficus that leaned toward the window, quietly doing its job. Then we forgot them. Too much upkeep. Too much mess. Plastic plants started taking their place. But now, the greenery is back in bloom. From monstera leaves to hanging pothos, homes are sprouting with life. Not just because it looks good, though it does, but because it feels good. There's peace in watering your plants, pride in watching them grow, and comfort in knowing that something is thriving because of your care. Houseplants don't just brighten a room, they soften the edges of modern life. And in a way, they remind us of ourselves, resilient, rooted, reaching for light, learning instruments. Later in life, there was once a rule: if you didn't learn the piano as a kid, it was too late. Music lessons were for the young adults. They were too busy, too far gone, too set in their ways. Not anymore. Now more people over 50 are picking up guitars, sitting at pianos, even trying the violin for the first time. Not for performance, not for applause, but for joy. Because playing music is like unlocking a part of yourself you forgot was there. It's meditative, it's emotional, and it's never too late. With online tutorials and apps, it's easier than ever. And every note, every chord, every missed beat is a reminder that you're still learning, still growing, still alive. Music was never just for the young. It was for the curious. And that never gets old. Backyard. Chickens. Chickens in the suburbs. A few years ago, that sounded like a punchline. Too messy, too rural, too farm. But today, across neighborhoods and cul-de-sacs, you can hear the gentle cluck of hens, but also the rhythm of feeding, the joy of gathering, the pride of self-sufficiency. Backyard chickens aren't just about breakfast, they're
about lifestyle, about choosing something slower, something simpler, something that feels more true. And let's be honest, there's something magical about reaching into a nesting box and pulling out something warm, something perfect, something
yours. Funny how time works, isn't it? The things we once rolled our eyes at, the shag rugs, the bell-bottoms, the backyard chickens, turned out to be treasures. They didn't change, we did. Maybe we got tired of chasing the next new thing. Maybe we realized some of the old ways weren't just good, they were great. Or maybe we just missed the feeling of being connected to style, to purpose, to each other. So if this trip down memory lane sparked something, leave a comment. Tell us what old weird thing you've fallen back in love with, and if you're still curious, check out our playlist, Forgotten Ways of Living, because if the past has taught us anything, it's that it always has more to teach. Thanks for watching. Welcome back.